all you podcasters out there in indie pod land. How are all you feeling this morning on this awesome Saturday? I'm your host, Super Joe Pardo, here for the next couple of hours as we deep dive into the mystery land of SEO and what that means and how it works and all of that. I will be speaking as well. First off, I want to big shout out to everybody who's showing up now. I apologize. I totally mixed up the video. I set the schedule for 10 a.m. and I didn't actually update the video until from the 9 a.m. So I apologize for that mix up out of the gate here, but I am pumped. I'm really excited to be here with you today. I'm here excited to have some announcements for today. Let's see. Today we are going to be continuing to raise money for That Suits You. We're at $80 currently donated. So if you want to say thank you to me, if you want to say thank you to the speakers, go over to indiepodcasters.com/TSY and hit that donation button. It goes directly to them through Facebook. Good morning, Regina. Looking forward to seeing you in a little bit here in the room. We are definitely going to be nerding out. I'm excited for this. So if you could, I would appreciate it if you could hit that caring button called the sharing button, and share this with the people in your circle. I am absolutely looking forward to I'm looking forward to learning myself, because there's so much to learn about it. And today we have a total of 4 speakers. I am one of the 4 speakers as well. I'll be walking you through my process of how I go and use YOAST SEO to create content for the websites that I have. So I'm absolutely looking forward to it. It's a little bit shorter today. Normally it would be a lot longer. We're going to be probably about 2.5 hours today versus like the normalcy is like 4 hours or so. Hey Tim, how you doing this morning? Hope you're doing well down there in Texas. Let's see, what announcements do I have? This conference is brought to you actually by, speaking of Tim Gillette, Tim is sponsoring this event with his next Simple Easy Marketing event, which actually I don't have the date for. Can you throw the date of the next one in there, Tim, in the chat, and a link in the chat, please? But yeah, I got to speak, I think it was last weekend. Was it last weekend or 2 weekends ago? I don't know. Time is kind of melding together on me, and had the opportunity to speak, and it was great. I really enjoyed it. He brings a lot of great people to his events, and if you make a donation of more than was it $50? You donate more than $50 to That Suits You. And send an email to tim@timgillette.net. You will get a free ticket to his next event. I got to update that July 18th there. I missed it. So yeah. Also, this conference is brought to you by IndiePod University. If you go to indiepodu.com, it'll help you start, grow, and monetize your podcast. There's a bunch of resources. I have some announcements that I'm going to be making later, a little later today in here. SimpleEasyEvents.com. Oh, there you go. SimpleEasyEvents.com. August 15th is the next date. So I am looking forward to that speaking, and I assume I'm speaking, and being involved, sponsoring and being involved. So I'm excited for that. All right, so at this time, I think we might get started a little bit early here, because I don't have a whole bunch of announcements to go off of at the moment. I gotta do a few sprucing up here with all of my banners, because I just fell off my radar. It's been a crazy week leading up to, well, actually it was last week, and the week before that was kind of crazy with my ear. Wasn't able to really hear out of my ear, and I was in a lot of pain. So thank you, Juanita. It says your video looks great. What camera are you using? I'm using the Canon M50. It's this camera actually right here. It's just a little handheld. It's a different lens. It's the 22 millimeter f2.0 lens. So this is a much wider lens than that, but this is effectively the same camera that I'm using up here on my computer. So at this point, I want to introduce our first speaker, who is speaking on the topic of live stream like you mean it, like you, as in you watching right now, like you mean it. I need super claps in chat for Regina Rosa Celeste. Woo! What is going on, Regina? How are you this
What's
morning?
up? Good morning, Joe. I'm so glad you're feeling better. We missed you.
Me too. Oh,
It's not
thank
the
you.
same when you're down.
I appreciate that. It's it still hurts a little bit. I get like random like somebody's jamming a fork in my ear. But yeah, it's not the worst thing. It's not the worst thing ever. I'll take this over like all the pain I was dealing with prior to this,
Yeah.
because it was driving me up a wall. So trying to prevent that, wearing the open or the over the ear headphones rather than like the on the ear or in the ear at the moment headphones. So you're gonna speak about live streaming, right?
Yeah, and I love that topic about not feeling well and how that affects us, right? Because when I woke up this morning, and thank you for your transparency, because I didn't I wouldn't say I didn't prepare, but I'm not going to do a slideshow, and usually I do, right? When I speak
Mm-hmm.
for your group, and I'm so grateful to be part of your group for many reasons.
Aw,
Yeah, it's
we're
amazing
grateful to
people.
have you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I've spoken a couple times now, and I love this group because, along with a couple other groups that I've been introduced through yours, and it's so cool. It's community and it's relationship building. And when I woke up this morning, I thought, okay, I usually do a slideshow, and I thought, no, today I just want to share, right? And what came to me was how often we get stuck, and I'll say I, right? Because in this moment, I know my own experience has been there's been so many times where I didn't want to do something, and specifically I was afraid of the camera because I didn't know
Mm,
that I was fully prepared, or I didn't think I was prepared, or I didn't feel like my speech or whatever I was doing was enough, right? And
mm-hmm.
the truth is that's a story that our mind, right? My mind used to tell me, and sometimes still shows up in those moments when I notice it. It's a story that my mind or our minds will tell us in order to make excuses for why we can't show up authentically and fully. And the same thing happens with live streaming, right? We
Mm,
make up all kinds of excuses. Well, I'm not good on camera. I don't know what to say. Um, I don't have the right camera, right? I don't have the right script. I don't have the right blah, 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 fill in the blank. And the truth is that to me, what I've learned is it's an excuse, but it's more than an excuse. It's actually our mind trying to protect us. And when we know that our job is to serve others and to provide value, it doesn't matter what we look like. It doesn't matter what we sound like, because the message is going to convey if our intention is pure and if it's clear,
yeah. Yeah,
right?
no, it will. Clarity, giving clarity in the messaging, not just to the person that's reading the messaging, but to just them being able to understand it and make that the easy decision: is this for me or not for me? Is a huge. It's huge. It's absolutely huge.
Yeah.
In making a difference for both you and the people you're trying to serve and trying to help. So that's no, it's I totally agree.
Yeah. And I mean, the truth is, yeah, you don't want to roll out of bed and just hop on camera, right? With, boogies in your eyes and all that, right? But even if someone does, how many times can can we all think about the times when we heard someone speak that maybe wasn't super polished or didn't have all the right words, or maybe they were fumbling, right? But we
Mm,
still remember them.
yep.
They're memorable because A, maybe they looked so memorable that we remember them. Or B, they said something that stuck with us. And I think it's really important, especially with live streaming, because being a student of yours, and now I say this humbly, I feel like you've become like a really dear mentor and also a friend.
Oh,
Like, I can be honest with you,
yeah.
I can say stuff to you that I don't worry about being judged, because we're all, I think, like an extended family now.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
right. And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it feels really good to know that there's other people that we're here doing all of this for each other, but with each other in mind as well. It's like we're all lifting each other up as we're in this process. So like, let's say you come on and, last week you weren't feeling well, or even today, right? You came on and you were honest and said like, hey, I messed up with the schedule. Like, okay. Right. Like,
Yeah, it happens, right? Like I feel
yeah,
bad. I hope those people, because there was a couple comments on the previous YouTube video that was scheduled. So I hope those people found the new version of it. So fingers crossed, because I don't want them to miss out.
yeah.
But yeah, it because once I deleted it, I'm pretty sure I deleted it from YouTube as well. So like those comments are gone, and I don't have any way to. I don't know who those people were, so I don't have an easy way to get a hold of them. But if they refresh and they go back to the indiepodcasters.com/virtual, I made sure everything's updated there, so they can watch via YouTube if they don't want to necessarily jump into the Facebook community, which they totally should. Go to indiepodcasters.com/. Group to join the community today to watch us on Facebook. So yeah.
Yeah. And
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. And this is, I'm just kind of ripping right now. So
Hmm.
I'm happy to have you stay on with me. And I'm basically, my goal today, my intention was to talk about live streaming and how the power of just showing up really is all about streaming like you mean it, right? Like
Well,
not caring.
yeah. No. Well, why don't you take the floor for a little bit, so
Sure.
I can update some of these scrolling things at the bottom,
You got it.
and I'll be back. Call for me. I'll be right here.
Perfect. Love it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. So the conversation is all about how do we show up, right? And live streaming like you mean it, for me, is an invitation to show up with courage, to show up with integrity, and show up transparently. And when I tell you that not even 6 months ago, what are we now? We're in July. So the world fell, I don't want to say fell, but flipped on its head upside down in March, right? So I went to an event in Orlando. That was my first podcast event. And it was a big event. There was about 2,000 people there. And that's actually where I met Ross Brand, which was super cool. He was a panelist speaking, and he was speaking about StreamYard, which is this platform. And I thought, oh, that's really cool. I was looking for different kind of tools and resources to do podcasting. And I have been more or less comfortable being on camera I've been doing videos for years, but I never really had like a method to it. I just, when I was inspired, I would get in front of the camera and I would share what I would share. And in my background, I'm in real estate, and I'm also a yoga teacher and a coach. And so I started with the real estate, and then I thought, people were telling me for a really long time, hey, you should go online and you should teach yoga classes online. And I thought, no way. Number one, no way am I, getting in yoga pants and getting on a camera. And number two, that's my thing, right? Yoga is for me. And even though I teach yoga sometimes, or at that time was teaching less than I do now, I would always say to myself, I'm not going to get in front of a camera with yoga in mind. Like that wasn't my intention. But in the back of my mind, I always ask myself, why not? Like, what is it that I'm afraid of? Right. And so COVID happens. I literally one day, I'm like feeling, the crunch, right? Like I'm sure all of the world has been feeling. And I felt like boxed in, and they started talking about quarantine and how we're not going to be able to leave our homes. And I was like, ugh. So I'm an extrovert, right? I love being out. I love people, but I'm also very much, I have an introverted side, and I like my space. I like my quiet time. So I get on my yoga mat one day and I start doing my yoga jam. And then I think to myself, wow, I feel better. And I thought, how would others feel if we did this together? Right. So I said, I'm just going to do an experiment. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this one live. And that's it. And that's what I thought. So I turned on the camera, I put it on, and I noticed a couple people joining me. And I thought, okay, here we go. And then the next day I felt inspired and I did it again. And then the next day I did it again. And then the next day I did it again. And so for 3 months, I was teaching yoga every day online, Monday through Friday, sometimes Saturdays too, for like 15 to 20 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes. And then from there, I created a course. And then I said, you know what? I do see this streaming as an opportunity to really get out and teach people. And so I started doing more and more. And I started actually investing in training and learning. And I actually took a course with Ross Brand and Joe. And then that was awesome. And then I took a second course, which was amazing and awesome. And they really taught me about video, they taught me about audio, they taught me about feeling confident in front of the camera. And even when you don't, you show up anyway. And the reason is because it's not about you, right? If you're all about serving humanity and serving people and really getting your message out, then you show up as courageously and confidently as you can, right? Even when you're fumbling, even when you're stumbling and you're stuttering, you show up anyway. And you get better and you practice, because the only way to get better at something is to practice, right? You didn't learn how to drive, by dreaming about it, right? You had to get behind the car and you had to learn to drive. And as some of my northern friends in New York and New Jersey, I know don't drive. I'm going to use another example. You had to learn how to walk before you could run, right? So streaming is the exact same thing. Live streaming and podcasting, it's all the same. And I'm far from a veteran. I mean, I was just watching one of the videos, I think the video, Joe, that you were talking about from the other day, and the woman who has 700 episodes. I mean, I just crossed my 40 episode mark yesterday, of my podcast, which is technically a vlogcast, right? Which is a stream, it's a live stream. And I've also done other videos that I'm now integrating, but I've just crossed the 40 episode mark. And that to me is a big deal for not ever wanting to have went live at all. It's baby steps. And now I'm excited about 100 episode mark, and then 150, and then 200, and then 300. Like, you go in increments. But the first and most important step is to start. And if you find yourself worried about how you sound or how you feel, how you look, there's tons of tools. And Joe Pardo right here, in this group that you're watching right now, this is the tools. You have people that come on, you have, all of these amazing leaders who come on, and I don't want to leave anyone out. So I'm not going to say too many names, just because, there's always someone that'll have more. But there's tons of people in this community that are amazing. And Tim Gillette has his own community, right, that he's part of, that he's also, and he's a sponsor for the event. So I think it's really cool to be able to tap into all these different amazing leaders that are doing this. You have people that are doing YouTube, you have people that are doing some are doing audio, some are doing stream. But I personally like streaming because it really helps me, not just with getting my message out, but thank you so much, Queens of Mimes. I love that. Hopefully I'm saying that right, Mimes. And what I also know, that in my experience that's been true, is that when you stream, you actually gain a certain sense of confidence, not just on podcast, in the podcast conversation, but also in life, right? Like, you all of a sudden you step into a grace, or at least my experience has been stepping into a grace of humility. Like, I do my best to prepare, and obviously I want to put my best foot forward, right? Like, literally, like this morning, like my hair was a mess, and I spent some time, I put it together, still a little bit messy, but I spent the time, right, to prepare and show up. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, I think our biggest issue with live streaming, most people, is that we try to be perfect. And so what I would like to do is give you permission and remind you to give yourself permission that you don't have to be perfect, and neither does your live stream. You just need to get on there and you need to start, hit play, and go. And if you need 5 friends to support you, text a friend, say, hey, I'm going live in 5 minutes. We do that, right? We tell each other, hey, I need a little love. Can you throw me, some love in the chat, if it makes sense, right? Or, hey, I'm going live in 20 minutes. Can you make sure that my audio sounds good? Like, there is absolutely zero shame in asking for help. And the truth is people want to support you. So any story that our minds are telling us that we are less than for asking for help or allowing in support is actually our mind just trying to protect us from getting hurt. And the reality is that we all need support. We all need help. And that's why it's there. That's why there's coaches available to help mentor you in podcasting. That's why there's coaches available to help you with audio, with video, so that you can get better and you can progress and you can be better than you were yesterday. And when you get out into the real world, right, when you're not on camera, when you're not live, you flow even then, right? You feel more, you feel more at ease when you're talking to people. You feel more comfortable, less fear of rejection, right? And give yourself permission, reminding. And I love this because someone said this to me, which was really kind of like, this was a really cool way for me to get over that fence, right? Speaking to a piece of glass, metal piece of glass, is not normal. Like, most of us are not familiar and very, it's not natural talking to a piece of glass and metal. So know that speaking to a camera, speaking to a computer takes time, it takes practice, it takes a little bit of finesse, right? So it's not like Joe just, woke up and boom, he was a pro. It took him years to get that way. And you're going to get there too if that's your goal. You just need to give yourself the time. You need to give yourself the permission and the opportunity to practice, to grow, and to invest that energy into being the best version of yourself so that you can deliver the message without worrying about, oh, do I have, something on my face and boo, boo, boo. And you probably, maybe you do have something on your face. Someone will tell you, right? That's what your friends are for. You tell them, hey, if there's anything sticking out of, my eye or my nose or my ear, please tell me. And make light of it. And that's really, if I was going to give any feedback, if I was going to give some tips, that's one that I would definitely say is, ask for help, right? So if you're not writing this down, you might want to write this down. If you're just new to the community and looking for some new tips, ask for help. And number two, make it fun. Find ways to make your streaming fun. So if you like having music in the background, play some music, soft music, right? If you need to do affirmations before you go live, do affirmations. Sometimes if I'm having like kind of a yucky day or something's going on like that, before I do a live, which now I'm doing usually about three to five, sometimes 7 lives a week. I mean, a lot of times I'll just hop on and just stream for a few minutes without uh, publicizing it or making it kind of preparing for it. I'll just hop on. Um, make it fun and give yourself a whatever it is that you need. So if you need to go take a walk first, you need to work out, or maybe you need to rest, right? Maybe you need to meditate before you go on a live. Give yourself permission to prepare in whatever way is most important for you and helpful for you. So my first tip would be ask for help. My second tip would be find a routine or some type of affirmation or uplifting mantra that you do, right? So the yoga teacher in me, right, says mantra. Find a mantra like, I am a great live streamer, right? I am the best live streamer, or whatever it is that you feel works for you, right? I think I'm far from the best, but I think I certainly play with the best and I hang out with the best. So one day maybe I'll be the best, but my best is what I'm looking for. I don't really need to compare to others, and I don't think you should either. I think personally each one of us should just focus on being better than we were yesterday. So tip number one, what was it, you guys? Just want to see if anyone's paying attention. Let me see, actually. No, but I realize we do have comments. Woohoo. Sweet. It's kind of quiet today, but it's all good. Some days are more busy than others. So the first tip was ask for help. Second tip that I have is make it fun. And third tip I would say is be yourself, because nobody can be better at being you than you. And that, I would say, thank you to Dr. Seuss, because he's our guy. So yeah, ask for help. Thank you, Queens. Yeah. And Queens, where are you writing from? I love that name and that picture. That's so pretty. I want to say England, but I'm not sure. Where are you joining us from today? All right, maybe she'll come on soon. But yeah, so hopefully that's helpful. That's my 3 tips for today. I know I'm probably a little bit shorter than I planned, Joe, but I think we'll get off to a good start today. It's a nice. I think like it's a very kind of mellow kind of Saturday, and it's very fitting with the week you've had. So it's been
Yeah,
wild.
I would agree. You know, it no, that was a great. I love ask for help, make it fun, and be yourself. The you know, I if I could, I should have looked up a picture of your like a bit like a clip of your past live streams, like because your background is so much better now. Like your face isn't like red. I don't. Did you get a different
Thank
camera
you.
or?
No, it probably, it's funny because it might be the backdrop because I had a green backdrop and I was using virtual backgrounds. But yeah, I
Okay.
haven't changed any of the lighting. I haven't changed anything else, and I noticed that too. So I'm so glad you said that about the red.
Yeah.
I don't
No,
see it. I haven't seen
yeah,
it.
like your face isn't like bright red like with the yeah. No, that's awesome. And it was probably the camera trying to compensate for the green, like the hues and all that stuff trying to, work make it so it you know, cheaper camera equipment doesn't have as good a dynamic range and it's trying to compensate and guess colors and things like that. So this looks great. This looks great. Did you
Thank
have
you.
that backdrop already, or did you go and buy a different color backdrop?
Well, this is a funny story. If we have time, I'll share it really quick. So
Oh yeah,
talk.
we got some time.
I totally forgot about this. So I go to this event so somebody was asking where am I from? I'm in South Florida. And thank you guys for sharing where you're coming from. We have California and Dallas. And so I'm in South Florida. I went in February, I went over to Podfest and I met this, one of the evenings they had this networking event and I'm standing next to somebody. Oh, thank you, Queens. I'm standing next to somebody and turns out he helps people create, not even create podcasts, but PR. He does PR basically. And I got offered an opportunity to be a podcast host for other podcasts. So basically, to become a professionally paid podcast host for someone else's show. And I thought, that's cool, right? Like, that's really, really cool. So they said to me, we want a really crisp, simple backdrop, like white or black. So I go, and for whatever reason, it's super hard to find stuff these days, right, in the store. So I go to
Well,
Bed
because
Bath and
people
Beyond.
are doing, everybody's like trying to, put a backdrop up on their, all their video that they weren't doing just 3 months ago, 4 months ago.
Exactly. So I can't find a white backdrop that fits, right, what I need. And I'm like, why is this so hard? Like, I don't want any design, just crisp white, I can't find it. And then I go into the bath section and I find a curtain, like a bath
Like,
curtain, a shower
like,
curtain.
oh, shower curtain. Okay.
Yeah, but it's not vinyl. It's just like a white, right?
Hmm.
And for like 2 weeks, I was like struggling because I missed, all the fancy kind of stuff that I had before, and it was fun, but you never know. And I've been getting like really good feedback about the white because it's simple and it's I guess less distracting.
Yeah, it is. And again, your camera is able to keep up with it. So, utilize it because most cameras are pretty good. It just comes down to like the lighting that you're using to make it work, right? The lighting, the background, and the software that's making it work. So even like the cheapest of cheap cameras can really look great if you have the right, you put the right lighting, around it and really take some time to dial it in. So, yeah, no, it looks phenomenal. That it's great. I
Thank
couldn't even tell. It looks like a satin curtain. Like it looks
Yeah,
like
it
satin
is.
behind you. Oh, it is. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well,
I
it's
guessed
not
it.
satin, but
Oh, it's
it's
not satin. Well, it
it's
looks satin to me. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I think That's why I'm like doing my hair as it's like a polyester, which is really funny. And that just goes to show, right? Like, thank you so much for saying that, because
Of
that
course.
goes to show we don't know what people's perception is, right? So never
Yeah.
underestimate the power of what feedback means, right? And also asking people's, not just, I don't want to say opinion, because opinion's different than feedback. Like when you're in a place of safety, you feel like people care, and it's positive critiquing. It's not criticism,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that can really go a long way. So I think that's one of the other tips that I'd give is just be open, right? And willing to learn.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like look, even I'm here to learn today too, right? Like uh, I don't know everything there is about SEO and all that. So like, I know what I know, and I'm looking forward to learn from both Tim, you, and because there's a lot to be said for what you just said applying to SEO, and for anybody who's thinking like, how does any of this live streaming stuff matter to that? Well, if you do the live stream, right, and then you create the notes around it, or you take the captions from it and turn that into a blog post, like all of a sudden, like that is part of SEO, right? So and I absolutely, all of this applies to that, right? Asking for help. I write something, you know what I do? I send it to people. I just updated the about section in the IndiePod community. If any, I don't know if many people even noticed it, because it only got a couple of likes. But point being is I sent it to my team to say, hey, does this make sense? Like, does this make sense to you? Does this resonate? Is this a thing? Is this good? You ask for help, and make it fun. So to me, fun is like writing out a bunch of stuff and then going to thesaurus.com and then finding words that I didn't maybe not realize were identical words, and being yourself, trying to not just seem, as generic as possible. There's a difference between like still trying to be classy and yet still being your, and being yourself, right? There's a line there, and you can find that line and make it work for you. So yeah, I am on board with all three of those things that you said, and like I said, you've come so far, like it's great,
Thank you.
and
And
you sound great too. Like the sounding thing is coming in great.
thank you. I have a very good tech support team, aka Joe Pardo and Ross Brand. And
Yes, yes.
I wanted to give a quick plug. I see the scroll here, and this is actually one of the classes I took, and I highly, highly recommend it if anyone's thinking about getting more integrated and learning more about this stuff. You have it right here. I mean, this is an excellent course, and it's very reasonably offered, and it's awesome. It's all recorded, so if you can't make it live, you can of course catch the replays. And
Well, this is all video. So this is actually the class that you took. So you're in this class video. So it's all six
yeah,
of the original modules for one low price that we're offering. So it's everything. You could go, I mean, again, I could pull up one of your videos from before, but it doesn't matter. Like
let's
you've
see. I'm
you've come
curious.
so far. You want me to pull
Yeah,
it up real quick?
yeah.
All right, let me see if I can quickly pull one up here. I didn't share my screen already. Let me see here.
One of my mentors has this. We have this joke. We say he's actually a business partner, and we call it uh, being willing to suck moment. Like you have to be
Yeah.
willing to see your faults, right? So you can grow,
Let me
and
see. Where is it?
hopefully they're learning moments, right? So
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it is. That's what we don't fail, we learn, right? And
yeah,
that's
totally.
the attitude that you got to have. Well, here's what one that was like with the backdrop. So
Yeah,
I
let
mean, the backdrops, they don't look bad, but the thing is they don't look that great either, right? Like they don't look as natural. It's like you can tell that it's not. Uh, it's not real. So in most cases, it's hard because unless you have like the proper green screen with the proper lighting to make that green screen really work properly, like Ross Brand does,
mhm.
it just almost never looks very good. And I'm having trouble scrolling through fast enough to get all the way down to like,
I've done
I
a
don't
lot of
know, too much.
stuff.
You have done a lot of stuff. I mean, and that's awesome. I mean, that's the whole point, right? Of putting yourself out there like that, and it doesn't always come off as like incredible, but you're still doing it, right?
Totally.
And to speak, is this the same camera as the camera you're using right now, or is this
No,
a
that
different
I use my laptop for those
laptop?
classes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, you can see like the light coming in. The lighting isn't great because the camera isn't incredible. It's the built-in camera in a laptop. Like, it's not going to be amazing, but it still gets you the opportunity to do what you're trying to accomplish here. I feel like I should have just went to the timeline and went back to
Mhm.
like March, April. Where how do you do that? Where's the
They keep
more?
changing things. It's like
Well, this
one
is
day
the
it's
the
one
new
thing.
Facebook for anybody who hasn't seen it.
Yeah.
Oh, timeline. It used to be right off to the side, like you could just like pick
Mm.
a time, but take my word for it, it did not look that great. It really didn't, and it was a shame because it 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 didn't need to be that way, and now it looks wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I have very good teachers.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you,
Yeah.
Regina. Larry Roberts in the
Thank
house. What's
you.
going on, Larry? Regina is constantly creating a ton of engaging content. She absolutely is, and I think that's really what it comes down to with, in regard to SEO and content creation in general. Just constantly be willing to push and push and push the envelope a little bit more and do more and find other ways to create more content and make reach more people, because it all content is king. That's number one, right? Like, that's what people are going to find and read and consume, because we're reading and consuming content literally all day, every single day, like all day every day for the most part.
Totally.
So yeah, so anyway, Regina, thank you so much for being here this morning. I really, really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to the future and everything and the success that's going to be coming your way.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for having me, Joe.
You are so welcome. Take care. Have a great weekend.
Bye. You too. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. I need some super claps in the chat for Super Regina Rosa Celeste. I almost said just Celeste. Regina Rosa Celeste. Hey, Greg, what is going on, man? I am feeling better. Hopefully, Greg reached out to me for anyone who I didn't really tell anybody, but he reached out to me because he's like, hey, you were talking about your ear hurting, and I noticed your cheek was kind of like puffy, and it's a little hard to tell now. I really wanted to shave before I came on, but hey, sometimes we don't get to always do the things that we feel we need to do, but we do it anyway, and we make it happen. So yeah, Greg, thank you for being here this morning, and Regina absolutely is a class act. So yeah, some super claps in the chat would be awesome. I'm assuming that Queens of the Mines is doing some super claps in the chat there for Regina. All right, our next speaker is talking about the topic of what happened up here? That's not good. He's speaking on the topic. Oh, where's my? Oh man, where is my topic? Hold on a second. I'm pulling it up. You should just hate it when you get too many tabs open. I feel like I should get an extension to limit the amount of tabs I can open up on my computer at any given time. Our next speaker is speaking on the topic of 10 random tips every podcaster should know about SEO. I need some super claps in the chat for Super Tim Gillette. What is going on, Tim? How you doing today?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Better. Doing better overall. I've been a lot worse, lot worse, and I'm feeling pretty like 90% there.
Yeah.
Wait, what's up with your background? What is all this? This is all changed.
Yeah.
You got Wilson in the background, like.
Yeah, all that stuff is always used to be on a display shelf over there. Last week, I took a lesson out of the Joe Pardo virtual event running thing, And while running my event last week, I got rid of an old shelf over there, took the bookshelf that was here and put it over there. And because I got this new one in, which is going to have all the decorations onto it. Going to put, eventually the sign's going to move over there. I'm above it, and I'm going to get another one with simple, easy marketing, and I'm changing it up. Got a new desk over here. The laptop works over here now, and yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, you don't be afraid to move around and change things up and find a new setup. I mean, I've been adding to my setup here pretty much every other day since I got out here into the garage. And for anybody that goes back and watches any of the other virtual conferences over in IndiePod University, like you'll see, this place was a mess, and now it is like it's I wouldn't say it's a paradise yet, but it's getting there. Yeah, it's getting there.
So and this week I actually did the switch over on the computer. I put a brand new hard drive in this computer, more RAM, and got it all up and running.
Oh, now you did get more RAM.
Huh?
You did get more RAM.
I did get more RAM. Now I have a problem. I can't get an Ethernet cable to work on it, and I don't know why. But
well, you can get a USB. You can get one of these things for like $10. USB to
Ethernet. I got one of them covered this week. I have one that connects to Thunderbolt because it's a Mac, and even that's not working, and I don't know why today. So I'm on Wi-Fi for the first time doing broadcasts, and I've never done broadcasts on Wi-Fi. It's always been hardwired on this computer.
Is the router in the same room at least?
Yeah. Well, no, the router and everything's down in the room. I actually have cabling run through my walls to. To, when I built this house, I ran a cable directly to here to run the office off of. I think I'm going to plug this in and make a secondary location.
Oh, okay.
To run the office off of.
Yeah. Good morning, Luke. How are you today?
Hey, Luke.
Good to see you, man. The USB one will definitely work. I'm actually using a Thunderbolt one. I actually just got a new Mac the other day, yesterday. It came in the mail. 2015 13-inch MacBook Pro for like $450. Yeah. And I was like, that's really all I need, because I need more than this iPad Pro with a Magic Keyboard thing. Like, this is good, but it's not great for what I use, for what I do, how I use the devices. So it came in, and it's the Z key is a little, of all keys, it's a little wobbly, so it doesn't work that great, but it's not terrible. Like, it still works. So it's just weird that the Z, like, of all the keys that you would be pressing the most of, the Z key is probably one of the least used keys. Anyway, sir, I'm going to get out of your way. You're on the clock for 30 minutes, and I'll see you. I'll be here listening.
Okay, my friend. I'm not used to this 30 minutes thing. Usually we do 20 some minutes in here, and it's just like today I was like, okay, how many more things can I pull out of my notes to extend this? And I don't know. I want to start off with talking about a story in SEO, because this is a question. I've been in blogging, content creation since 2010, and it's a question I get asked a lot in the SEO market. Is, hey, can you tell me how to write it would be SEO optimized to so I could put up one blog post and I get 1 million people to come over and see it. Well, that's the biggest issue I see with people going with SEO. SEO, as you know, stands for some extraterrestrials outside, which is a joke I've had for years. But no, it really stands for search engine optimization. Now, I have never, and I do mean never, ever have I built any of my blog posts, my podcast, or anything solely based on the idea of how to get SEO, how to be SEO optimized. No, I look at it in a form of, how do I get traffic to see what I do? So let me give you an idea of why I do it this way and why I have that mindset. And I want to tell it to you in a little story that really did happen to me. Now, before COVID, this happened. So this didn't happen last week because it really couldn't. I'm walking through the Willow Bend Mall, which is very close to my house here. And I'm on my way to Macy's in that mall. And while on my way to Macy's, I go by this kiosk cart where this guy is actually doing like skincare. Great skincare. And, the guy probably has hundreds of people walk by him every day. And what he does is he grabs somebody. If you catch the eye with him, just one bit of an eye catch, he comes over and he grabs your hand and he puts lotion on it. He goes, can I do this to help make your hands feel better? I'm a guy. I don't care about how my hands feel unless my wife complains. Really. It's just not on my wheel of thought. I'm on my way to Macy's. I'm trying to buy a new shirt or a new belt or a new pair of pants or shoes or something. I'm not in the mall that day looking for lotion to make my hands feel softer. I'm just not. But this guy has traffic coming by him all day long, and he's doing everything in the world he can to get their attention, to get them to come over to try his lotion. That is the concept that most people are doing with SEO. They're doing anything and everything they can to grab that traffic coming by, even though that traffic doesn't give a crap about what they're selling or offering. Is not interesting. They don't care about what you have to offer, but you're trying to get them to come to your site. And that is the concept that is taught out there in SEO, and it is wrong. Because the more you optimize and trick the whole things on search engines, guys, the more the search engine is going to change to bypass the way you hacked everybody coming there. They are now built and learning to build on AI technology, and that is, what do the people want? You get that? What do they want? Because if they want blue and they come to your site and they get red, they ain't coming back. They's going to pop back out of your site instantly. They don't care about red. They wanted blue. And you did everything in your world to convince them that there was blue on your site. And they get there and it's red. And that is where we all get into this problem where we think about, hey, SEO, if I can just SEO optimize, I can get traffic to my site. I once had a man tell me, if I can do this trick, I can get 1 million people to come to my site. I said, great. What are they going to do when they get there? Never did he stop to think about that. What are they going to do when they get there? That's our key we got to remember. You see, because they're coming for an experience. And if you are not providing that experience, they's gone. If you're not giving them what they want, they're gone. That's what I want you to think about. Yes, SEO, optimizing your podcast so that people come to your site to get what they're interested in. And it comes along the lines of thinking about, how do I get traffic, the right kind of traffic, in front of my content. In this case, we're talking podcasts. So today I thought what I would do is do a 10 random tips that every podcaster should know about SEO. And really, it's no different than blogging. It's just, it's going to actually, I'm going to tweak it to make it go for the podcaster. And that is, number one, all right, I say choose your keywords for each individual episode you do. Choose your keywords for each individual episode you do. So in other words, they're not coming to your site or coming to see your podcast because you have the same 10 keywords for every podcast you do. Now, I did this whole thing back in March and April and May where I was trying to do 100 interviews in 30 days. And if I try to use that whole idea of one keyword for all of those 100 interviews, it is not going to happen because they were 100 interviews that were entirely different one from another. The only difference, the only thing that was the same on every one of those interviews was they were on the Tim Gillette show. That's the only difference, or the only commonality, I guess I should say. Mind fart. You've got to choose individual keywords for each episode. For example, if you are actually out there and you actually have somebody coming to to be interviewed, have you stopped to actually Google who your guest is going to be? See how strong of a pull by Googling their name is. If their name has a higher pull than you, then their name's got to be one of the keywords. For instance, years ago, I was on actor Dean Cain's podcast. Dean Cain interviewed Tim Gillette. Now, I know I would love to say Tim Gillette is on the Dean Cain podcast, but here's the truth of the matter. Dean Cain's name is a lot stronger in SEO than Tim Gillette's. More people are going to search for Dean Cain than they're going to search for Tim Gillette. That's just the way life is. I'd love it to be the other way around. I really would, but it's not. So the keyword I would use, whether I was being interviewed by Dean or Dean is being interviewed by me, if Dean Kane is on it, I'm using Dean Kane as a keyword because I'm trying to get people into that episode. Now, there's tricks that you do to get people to check out your other episodes, but focus is getting people to look at just that episode. So choose individual key names or keywords for each episode. Number 2, create separate pages or blog posts for each episode. Now, I know most of you guys are hosting your podcast on Apple Podcasts or me, like mine's on Anchor and it's put over on Spotify and iHeartRadio and, Google Podcasts and Amazon Podcasts and, Apple and there's a ton of them that it's distributed out to. But the biggest key that I work on is getting people to my website. In other words, I want that podcast on my website. So I want to create a separate blog post for each website, for each podcast episode. I know this is like, man, Tim, I got into this because I didn't want to write anymore. I want to talk. I don't want to create a blog post. Well, when you add a podcast to your website and make each episode its own blog post, this makes the episode researchable because it has its own URL. I love being on Apple. I'm going to be honest with you. All right. It's great being an Apple podcast. I was ecstatic when I got accepted to be on iHeartRadio. I really was ecstatic that my thing was on iHeartRadio. But here's what I learned is everything that goes up onto iHeartRadio is built on iHeartRadio search technology, and everything on Apple is built on Apple's search technology. It is not in any way intended for the direct or purposes of Tim Gillette and his business or mind or goal. So this makes your blog post the springboard to link to the Apple podcast. And if you separate, all right, you separate the words, whatever your keywords is, you separate it and put it in the URL. By doing that, all right, it helps make the sentences better searched. But you've got to have it as your own blog post. So create separate pages or blog posts for each episode. The next thing I have on here, number 3, is create content specifically for that blog post. A lot of people ask me in the blogging world when I do blogging speeches, Tim, what is the optimal of how many words I should have on a site for SEO? Well, yeah, I'm going to tell you, the industry standard is 300 to 500 words. And I know some of you are going, again, I got into podcasting so I could talk on the microphone and not have to type on my keyboard. So here's my advice to you on doing this is 1, you can give a summary of what you do. Number 2, you can actually put out something to do with, maybe if you're interviewing podcasts, that you can put something to do with the guest. I use an awful lot of things with my guests and talk about I use their bio for information. The other thing that you can do with it is make sure, number 1, make sure that you have make sure you have your keywords and stuff put on in throughout it. But here's the unique thing that most people never thought to do. Transcribe your blog post. Put your show notes in the blog post. Have the blog post up there. Actually, put the YouTube video up there, but have it all in transcribed, or have it all your show notes right there. Having that in there, all right, is going to make a blog post that's going to help diversify your blog from anything that is out there. The next thing, number 4 on my list of 10. Use headings and subheadings in the text. Headings and subheadings. I know, if you've ever gone through WordPress and you've seen that thing, for the font, headings or subheadings is anything like H2 is the heading thing that you want to have to do, and you want to separate it as a heading. If you do that, all right, and then actually put keywords into them, this is a minor thing, but it will make a major difference. Again, everybody's going to be learning how to do things to better and get their podcast up. Why not get yours optimized the best for traffic to come there? Again, even minor things make a major difference. Number 5, my favorite that I love to tell people to do. Images. Guys, if you I ask everybody who's going to be on my podcast for an image, for a headshot. I want to put their headshot and my on my page to share about them. I want to be able to get people to see who they are. All right. I want to get people to identify who they are. And I like to use images because search engines are starting to love images if you do them right. And that is you got to put text. All right. Easy to optimize your keywords by putting them in the title, the captions, all right, and the alternative text. When you put the keywords in that on your image, you're going to attract more. I learned that very simply on the very first blog post of mine that took off, and that was when I did a blog post on Jukebox Hero. And I took a picture of a jukebox and put it up there. The mega data for images, very, very, very information, very, very true there, Tim. The mega data for images, all right, that having it defined out so well, all right, with that very key thing of having the images done and done right, made people search for my jukebox. And that's what brought 7,700 people to the site. I went 35 people viewing my site one day, 7,700 the next day. One of the biggest jumps I ever had. And it was early on. I think it was in year 2 or 3 in my blogging history that I started doing that. Number 6 that I have down here, and this is one of those ones that everybody's got to look at. All right, what's the speed of your website? It's like this morning, I'm trying to get the things like little things like trying to get my Ethernet to work so I have a great connection. I can put the speed out. I know I'm connected to the internet in a great way. I can broadcast this and cool and fast. But have you looked at your website to make sure everything's running optimized into it and you've got the right speed? So people, if they search your site, they're actually doing it. They're actually getting up there. Make sure your speed and you know, it's things that I really don't have all of the details on when it comes to this. I'm not technical. If you can't figure it out, I am not technical. I am the guy who writes the content to get the people to come. I'm not this guy that's going to tell you, hey man, get this X42-19RW57, all right, and plug it into the back of your computer, all right, and then run your website through that and it'll speed it up. I don't know that stuff. I really don't. I know the simplest of things. Keep my website so it's not complicated, so it's running faster, all right? I have someone who runs, I pay someone to maintain it and run a things to make sure everything's running faster and the speeds are going. I used to have all of my sites on one server. I was on one of those, what do they call them joint servers on HostGator. And one time I actually had one of the other people on my server got hacked and the hack came over to mine. So I've learned to buy things and separate my servers. The next thing I want to go to is a meta description, which is basically what Tim mentioned there in the comments there a little bit ago. The meta description is every web page or something like that. If you come up and do the Google search, it gives you this brief description. You've got to make something in there that with keywords into it that grabs the attention of people. Again, make the keywords match what's in the content, match what's being searched, and put it in that meta description. Make that little paragraph something that makes people go, I want to check out this podcast that's on here. I want to check out what's on this site. So they click it and realize, oh, it's not a blog post. It's a podcast. Let me push the play button and I can go about doing everything else that I was going to do. And I don't have to actually sit and read it. Now you're making them happy because they're going to find the content they were searching for and they can hit the play button and listen to it and not have to sit here and go, and John said he was at the Disney World on Tuesday. They don't have to do that. You've just optimized it to get their attention. Number 8. I love this one because I always say, get social. You know, get social. I tell all of my clients and the people who are in my Simple, Easy and Tim Gillette's VIP Mastermind, I tell them to make sure they're doing things on the internet that connects with people. Not, hey, how many followers do I have on Twitter? How many followers do I have? No. How many engaged people do I have on the social platforms? Joe Pardo puts on this great event, all right? And if you notice, there's people who come in here and they get engaged in the chat room, like Regina Rosa Celeste, Queen of Minds, Tim Bryan, Larry Roberts, all right, Luke Miller. They're all engaged in here and talking in here. That's what you want on social media. You want to find engagement. I learned that engagement was key on there. I want to do things on social media to get people finding out about my podcast by engaging with them, which usually means I go into certain groups. All right, I build relationships in those certain groups. I don't go into the groups just to market and sell my goods and wares. I have never, and I do mean never, gone into Joe Pardo's group of the independent podcasters community. I don't go in there and say, hey, I'm Tim Gillette, and I offer this great event that you should come attend. No, I come into his community and feed it. And every now and then, Joe says, hey, Tim, can you give me a link to where that is at? I remember when I actually got my podcast up on Apple. I came into the group and I wrote, hey, I finally got my podcast on Apple again. And first thing Joe said was, hey, Tim, can you put a link for everybody to go subscribe? I didn't have to. I just was trying to share the good news. Because of that, the leader of the group then turns around and actually be social with me and helps me read. Most of my subscribers from my YouTube channel, my Instagram account, even my podcast, all that stuff comes because I'm engaging with people, not because I'm in the search engines. That's why I say you got to be social. The next thing I have down here is actually making sure you actually have your content put into places like directories. Make sure you're optimized with, like, the analytics and stuff like that. Number 9. Treat your podcast like it's another part of your website. Treat it like a business. And think about it. If I wanted to get traffic in my business, where would I do? I would go to people at places like Bing and Google, and I would make sure that I have it all in the directories. I would be bringing regular content up, number 10. I would be bringing regular content. So in other words, if you want to be greatest in SEO, this is the greatest one to end on today, but I'm going to give you a bonus. You've got to actually give them some consistent content. See, consistent content is what they're going to give them coming back. I watch Regina Rosa Celeste's information because she posts consistent content. If you noticed, the very community you're part of, Super Joe Pardo's independent podcasters community, has grown by leaps and bounds over the last 6 months because Joe got engaged with his community. He posts on a regular basis, and now he's going into, the last couple of weeks, he's been posting on a daily basis, doing videos, doing trainings, doing things that benefit the community, bringing in people who can benefit the community on a regular basis. It's exactly what you got to do, is be consistent. And now my bonus thing, links in and out of your website. Some people say, get all these, links from articles and such like that. I like to say, make sure I've got links to your website, links to the community where we met, links to, I like to make sure that there's links coming in. So it's like everybody goes, one day Joe actually sits there and looks at, how did this traffic come to my website? Oh my God, they came from a blog post on Tim Gillette's website about a podcast that he interviewed some guy named Larry Roberts, who he met. Larry Roberts introduced the two of us. And that is a link that makes Joe happy. Inbound and outbound links are one of those things that will actually help boost it. In conclusion, guys, SEO is important. It is. It's important, but it's not the only thing. Google is important. But if you spend a life and spend your time doing everything you can to make Google happy, it will become a full-time job, changing your information to keep Google happy. I say, think about, how do I get traffic? That's not tell me one way to get 1 million followers, but maybe about 1,000 ways to get 1 follower or 2 followers, 5,000 ways to get 2 followers. The point is become consistent in your marketing. I've said it before on some of these broadcasts that I've been able to overhear to help the community, is never think of it in the fact of, hey, what's the one way? Always be thinking of, what's the multiple ways that I can do to get the traffic. Thinking of, rather than If you build it, they will come. No, if you market it, they will come. People come for marketing. They don't come just because you put the information out. It's not just building it, it's marketing it. That's why I have a thing called simple, easy marketing. It's because I want to help you find simple, easy ways for your clients and customers to find you. That's the purpose behind everything I do. Well, I have a mission, and I'm going to close with my mission. I share this everywhere I go because I want people to know. Yes, I have my own communities. Yes, I have my own Facebook groups, and you know what I mean? You reach out to me on that. But my mission is entirely, I want to help build 10,000 content creators. That's bloggers, vloggers, podcasters. 10,000 of them. Get people started using content to market their business, content to market their hobbies, whatever it is. They become content creators. And then I want to take those 10,000 and I want to help them get 10,000 followers, subscribers, fans, community. And you see, once they have that community, then I want to help them. That's what we have our inner circle for, is help them turn that community into a $10,000 a month recurring income. That's my mission, guys. It's why I'm here helping you today. If you want to find out more about me, go to timgillette.com. All right. And if I can help you in any way, let me know. Here's the other thing I'm going to tell you is yes, I always fully believe in everything Joe does. He's a great guy. And he actually does this awesome thing with a what is this? Was it a charity? What is it today? Joe, all right, put it up there in a thing if you can, your community. Or yeah,
yes.
Well, or what's your charity this month?
It is the That Suits You. We are still raising money. We've raised $80 so far. I think I haven't looked at it in a few minutes, but anyway, I always do. So, you know, I usually charge $20 to get into my community to get my events. Well, if you are willing to donate $50 to Joe's charity, I'll get you into my event. Not only you get to attend on August 15th, but you get to attend everyone for the rest of your life. And you absolutely should. They are great events with a lot of great people in them that he's connected with and gets to speak at those events. So I implore you, please go check out what That Suits You actually does. They raise money and collect suits for youth and adults who are coming out of really bad situations. And gets them a suit so they can go get a job, get that job interview and have a great looking suit in the process, which, helps, especially when you might have had a rough start to your life or something had gone wrong and you come out of it. So.
Well, there was a comment here from Tim Bryan I'm looking at. All right. Linking to my own website is something I'm working on. Seems obvious, but I missed it. Yeah. So yeah, Tim, I've done weird things like, I do when I speak at events, live events, I get people to write a blog post, and I usually do it with a series of quotes, and then basically I tell them to give me their website so I can link back to them. And if you go check out my site, there's my blog at timgillette.com. There are several of those posts in there, and they link back to like 50 to 60, whoever is in the audience, it links back to their website because you go in and go, oh, Joe Pardo made a great quote. And then you click Joe Pardo's name and it goes back to their website.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I'll be talking about that piece of it.
Yeah, because what you're going in is the tool I want to use. And I'm looking forward to what you're going to share with me, what I can learn to better using that tool.
Yeah, it makes it like a checklist, right? Yeah. And that's really what it comes down to. Now, our next speaker is going to be talking definitely in depth about the content creation part of it. Writing things so that they rank. So I'm excited for her talk coming up next, and then I'll follow that up with, hey, look, here's the tool that you can use right in WordPress and help yourself make sure that you're doing the right things, putting yourself on that right path. Larry says, I made the same mistake, Tim. I always link back to my website now. Yeah, it's one of those things you're supposed to do, is like link to another thing. And
And that's one
You
thing,
know.
like I'm doing now, Joe, with like all my speakers. Like, when I speak at my events, you know what I mean? I got a page up that links back to them now. And that's what I'm trying to do. Like, everything I can, even in my membership portal, is trying to make those, a link back to who is this Joe Pardo guy? Who's this Larry Roberts guy? And they can link back to it right from the portal and go, hey, let me go check this guy out that Tim has broadcasting his portal.
Yeah. So actually, I have a couple of. If anybody has any questions, throw them in the chat. We have a few minutes left. Tim Gillette, great name, great talk. Thanks, Tim. So a few announcements that I wanted to make. So it looks like things are not going to pan out the way I had hoped for running September 12th, Icon 6 live from the backyard, and I've given it a lot of thought. And after talking with one of my mentors and dear friends, it basically came out that like I don't have a team of people around me to be able to do this, to be able to take care of the people that are watching from home, as well as take care of the things that need to be done here, as well as the fact that tents are actually starting to get hard to find because restaurants are renting the heck out of them. So that's a bit of a problem. And I actually kind of feel guilty taking a tent away from potentially taking a tent away from a potential, restaurant that really needs it to survive. So what I'm going to do is offer up refunds to people that want them, but we're still going to do an event on September 12th. We're just going to do a more intimate event. We're going to, instead of doing this into the Facebook group, we're going to do a Zoom-based event with rooms, and we'll be doing our our podcast, our creative podcast competition workshop, where you'll be able to jump into a room with the other people, like your 3 team members, and craft a 5-minute podcast in 20 minutes, record it, and et cetera. And so I'm going to start working on putting that, because that way I can put my energy towards focusing on the people that are, majority of the people that are going to be coming. When we did sell some tickets, we had people that legitimately expect to be coming, but I ultimately it's just not gonna be conducive for me to be, because I don't have a team, so I don't have somebody watching the comments and like putting them up on the screen like I would be having to do that, to like make sure that everything's running from a tech standpoint, hosting the people in front of me. And I think it kind of would be a bit of a mess, because I don't have like at least 2 or 3 other people to help me do those things that I will be doing all of myself here. So I'm looking forward to. I'll have more details in the next couple of days, and be putting out the speaker calls and readjusting the Icon 6 landing page, so that it's going to be like I said, face-to-face event, in the sense that it'll be a Zoom event, so it won't be just like how we're doing here, where we're streaming into the Facebook group and people are in the chat. Which, thank you so much for doing so. I appreciate that, Regina. Facebook user, glad you're here, but go to StreamYard.com/Facebook.
I think that's Christopher Knight, which I think I'm surprised Christopher.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it is.
I'm surprised. I thought Christopher was already in, but anyway, yeah.
Maybe he had to re-up it or renew it.
Go to the Facebook. Is it StreamYard.com?
StreamYard.com/Facebook. Yeah,
and give permissions again.
Yeah. So that's one announcement. The other announcement that I had is that the so IndiePod University and the Supercharger podcast, I'm going to be combining those two into just IndiePod University. The price is going to be going up on next Friday, so it's only $10 a month right now. You can lock in that price because it's going up to $99 as of Friday. So the 2 of those are going to be coming together, and anybody who's bought into the Super Circle, it's going to be switching over, and the stuff that you're paying for already you're going to have access to. So I'm taking care of those people. That's not a problem at all. But this is also the first time announcing it, so I want to make sure I get those details out to those people as well if they're not watching at the moment. So nothing's changing with your subscription. You're good, but the price is going to go up on Friday for the IndiePod University, which will include a private community. You just won't have the one-on-one time with me, like the Super Circle people who already bought in will have. So
the investment, if I join the
IndiePod University.
University, all right, right now is how much?
$10 a month,
$10 a month, and,
yes.
and after Friday, when it goes up for everybody else, I still stay at the $10 a month, right?
Yes.
I'll make sure I clarify that.
Yes, you will stay at $10 a month, and it includes so much. There's 150 hours of virtual conference videos, in-person conference videos, video that I've created, courses I've created. So there's just so much that's been added into the IndiePod University already. But I'm basically just trying to simplify the marketing message, because I know it was definitely a bit convoluted with having two different programs that were running side by side. So it's going to be one price going forward, and then that also gives you access to me to get your questions answered once a week. And I'll also be changing up some of the daily lives that I do in the group. Some of the days will be changing around, and there'll be some structural changes in that as well to accommodate for the changes into the IndiePod University. So if you want to lock in $10 a month, indiepodu.com. I don't have it scrolling at the bottom, but where is it at? It's hard to. I wish they could put numbers or something by these.
I know,
or star a couple of them, just because it would make it so much easier. But yeah, the price increase is July 31st. Right now it's $9.99 a month. It'll be going up to $99 a month on Friday. So please, if you're interested, do it. Don't hesitate. Lock in the price at $9.99 a month. And I'm it's $9.99, not $999. Just for
that's one heck of a
purposes.
Membership for $9.99. I'm just saying.
It honestly, it really is, because if you want to launch, grow, and monetize your podcast, this is where you want to be. This is it. This is it. This is where you're going to get the hands-on, hand-holding, get you across the starting line, get you across the finish line, help from me and the rest of the community that is bought into making that happen, making it their reality. So this is where you want to be, for sure. Tim, any last thoughts you'd like to impart on us while we wait? Because our next speaker is not in the green room yet.
Is that Jessica coming up next? Jessica Warren's in the room? Yeah.
Jessica's not in the room yet. Yeah, I don't. Let me see. I can message her.
Nothing scarier when you're putting on an event than having someone not be in the green room when you need them in the green room. I'm just saying, but. Hey,
it happens. She messaged me already, so it's not the end of the world.
My parting words to you guys today is, what I mean? You're here to study. You're here to get things, all right? So often the biggest question I get asked when I go to functions is, well, Tim, I'm looking at this, and Tim, I talked to Joe, and Tim, I talked to Larry, and Tim, I talked to, Ross, and, I can't decide. I'm going to tell you right now, guys, the opportunity to join the community here at $9.99 is a very, very good investment. Pick somebody who you think is the next step for you to work with, and take the small investment of the $9.99 and take that step forward and try them out.
Yeah.
And Joe,
absolutely.
a great person. All right. If you've gotten something out of this community, $9.99 a month, I spend more than that on coffee a week.
Yeah, and a lot of people do. I don't drink coffee, but if I did, I probably would end up spending more than that.
I think I spend more than that on bourbon a week too. But anyway.
Well, if you listen to Stefan, he drinks his iced coffee, and I think it costs him about 20 cents a cup, and he drinks it once a day. So he's definitely saving that $5-6 a cup a day, for sure. So I don't blame you, but even at that rate, $10 a month is nothing. In the way of making that progress for you and your podcast. So I absolutely would think that if you're interested, you should totally go check it out, indiepodu.com. And Tim, our next speaker has entered the green room.
Okay, I'm out of here. I'm leaving it up to you, Jessica. I'm watching.
There's a lot of people watching because a lot of people are very much interested in what she has to say. She is for sure our SEO star of this this I was about to say of this episode, but of this conference. And Facebook user spend I spend more on beer a week. It's more on beer a week. Tim, thank you so much. One last thing I want to mention before you go. I'm not going to be announcing the next virtual conference for right now because I'm going to put my efforts into focusing on September 12th because it's pretty much the end of July at this point, and it'll be September 12th before we know it. So this will be the last virtual conference in the group for the time being, but I have some plans to do some other little things like playing some classic talks from MapCon and Icon history. So I'm looking forward to that as well. So there's definitely something maybe to give a couple weeks a break. You know, it's summertime and all that. So so I won't be announcing the next one, but we will be doing more of these after September 12th for sure. This is not the last one forever. I promise you. All right, Tim, have a great weekend. I will definitely be talking to you soon, sir. Thank you for being here. I need super claps in the chat for Super Tim Gillette. Thank you so much again for being here, Tim. Thank you for imparting all of that great SEO knowledge, priming it for our next speaker, who is speaking on the topic of writing that ranks, how to create SEO content like a boss. I need super claps in the chat for Super Jessica Foster. Woo! What is going on?
Hey, how's it going? Good.
It's going great. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a scramble, and I also apologize if there's some overlap with my presentation. Naturally, there will be because SEO is kind of like that.
It happens. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, my presentation is going to focus primarily on SEO content writing. So.
Yep, that's good because I'm going to follow it up with talking about YOAST SEO and how to check the boxes. Yeah. So I think we got this covered between the 4 of us here this morning. All right, I'm going to get out of your way. Are you sharing your screen?
Yes, I am. Let's see.
Okay.
Oh gosh, I swear if it doesn't let me do the whole thing. Chrome tab. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Can you see that now?
Yes, I can. Yep.
The whole thing? Okay, cool.
Yep, we're good. I'm going to get out of your way.
Right. Okay, awesome. Okay, hey everybody. Like Joe said, I'm Jessica Foster. I am an SEO content writer, and in this session, I'm talking about writing that ranks, how to write SEO content like a boss. So quick intro, I'm an SEO content writer at my agency, Keys and Copy, where we help agencies and businesses get more traffic and leads through their content. I'm a regular contributor to Search Engine Journal, Search Engine Land, and other industry publications. And I'm also a mentor and instructor that helps people learn SEO content writing. So for the purpose of this session, we're going to talk about SEO content specifically tailored to podcasters. So I'm going to do a quick intro on what SEO content writing is, what it means to write for users versus writing for Google, how to conduct keyword research for your podcast, how to format your SEO content, optimize your SEO content, and then additional tips for podcasters. So first thing, SEO content writing is the practice of writing content for the purpose of driving organic traffic from search engines. So SEO is kind of all encompassing in terms of driving organic traffic, but SEO content writing is the content on your site that's optimized to generate that traffic. So that includes blog articles, web pages, and service pages, and really any of the pages that could be indexed on your website. So for podcasters specifically, you're going to be writing SEO content for your site in order to drive traffic to your site and then direct that traffic to your podcast episodes. Excuse me. So what does it mean to write for Google versus writing for users? There's this misconception that SEO content is all about optimizing for search engines. And while that's true to some degree, right, like you are writing for the Google algorithm, Google really wants users to continue using their platform. So when you're writing content that's optimized for users first, that incentivizes Google to rank your pages and articles in the search results. So users will continue using Google if they find the content that they're searching for. So your goal is really to help format your content to make it easier for users and Google to understand. And ultimately, the meat of the article or the page that you're writing is supposed to provide value to users. So if you're trying to just chalk your content full of keywords in order to fool the Google algorithm, unfortunately, Google's algorithm is getting really smart at understanding, I mean, fortunately for writers like us, Google's getting better at understanding the context of your content, hence the BERT algorithm update. But if you're trying to game Google with just putting those keywords in there, that's not as effective as it used to be. And ultimately, it's not going to appeal to your target audience and increase conversions, which is the end goal beyond traffic. So again, the goal is to publish content that's objectively better than what's currently ranking for your target keyword. I know objective is even difficult to gauge, but if you search for your target keyword and you see the pages that are already ranking for it, your question should be, how do I create a resource that's better than already there? So that doesn't necessarily mean including your target keyword in a certain number of places or a certain number of times. You're trying to provide more value than what's already ranking there. And then again, you're trying to format your content so it's easier for Google, or it's easier to understand by both users and search engines. So that's where the formatting of your content comes in. But the meat of your content, the content that you're writing in the body of your article, is supposed to provide value to your users. So if you're focusing on how to format your content versus what's actually in the article that you're posting, then you're kind of taking a backwards approach. I definitely recommend writing for the user first and then following these steps to format your content to just make it easier for Google and users to understand it. So specifically to podcast SEO, and I researched this earlier because I wasn't certain that Google actually indexed the actual podcast, but sources that I found have said that Google can actually parse the verbal content within your podcast. So it does further make sense to target a specific key phrase in your podcast, use that language throughout your podcast, maybe publish the transcript of it and have that indexed by Google. But mostly we're going to focus on the content on your website to drive that traffic. So you want to target a specific key phrase in your podcast to have the opportunity to rank in Google. And then you can use SEO to drive organic traffic to your podcast episodes. And then Google has been doing this for a while. It does index podcasts based on their meta descriptions and titles, which I believe Joe will talk about where to add that in YOAST SEO. But those are what will be displayed in the search results that tell users what your podcast is about. So in conducting keyword research for your podcast, again, you want to choose a keyword for each episode. So this is kind of like YouTube in that you can post, whatever content that you want, and it might be valuable to your audience, and they might find it on social media and stuff like that. But to getting it to rank, you want to target specific key phrases that users are searching for in Google. So you should be asking, what is your target audience actually searching for? What would they hypothetically go to Google to find the content that you're posting? And then what is the intention behind the search? What are they hoping to find when they Google that key phrase? And then do these keywords actually make sense for your website? I know a lot of businesses and podcasters and stuff like that target keywords that they think they want to rank for, but at the end of the day, it's not going to attract that targeted traffic that's going to convert on their website. So make sure you're asking yourself that question. And then will users find what they're looking for when you create this content? So if they search that key phrase and they end up on your website, does your content match what they're actually searching for? Or were you just trying to target that keyword arbitrarily to get that traffic? Ultimately, they're going to be unsatisfied, they're going to leave, and that's going to be bad for your SEO. And then you want to ask, is my site actually able to compete for this keyword? There are lots of amazing keywords with lots of traffic that we all want to rank for, but unfortunately, those sites that have a lot of authority are going to outrank us. So it makes sense to start small and go after those key phrases that we can actually realistically rank for. So I recommend using keyword research tools like SEMrush and Ahrefs. There are free tools out there and they're okay, but if you're going to take your SEO seriously, I do recommend investing in a premium tool. Each of these tools you can use to search for the key phrases that you have in your head that you think you want to rank for, and that will generate data around the search volume, so how many people are searching for it, and then the competition level, so how competitive this keyword is, how many sites are ranking for it, that sort of thing. And then there are resources in each of those tools to find related keywords that maybe you hadn't considered ranking for before. And so this can be really helpful if you're really stumped on what kind of keywords to rank for. Beyond that, you can also do a competitor analysis. So you can put your competitor's URL in that tool, and it will show you what keywords they're ranking for, assuming they are ranking for any. And then I recommend mapping these keywords to each of the pages and posts that you're going to target, because ultimately you might be podcasting on digital marketing, but you don't want to have tons of pages and posts that target the key phrases digital marketing. You want to target some alternative or variation of that keyword. So you might have a podcast on what is digital marketing, and you might have a podcast on digital marketing strategies for podcasters. So it's not identical to each page, and those pages are not competing against each other in the search results. So here's an example using SEMrush, sorry, where there's an awesome keyword, digital marketing agency, has tons of search volume, but is actually pretty competitive. And everyone would like to rank for this, right, if they're a digital marketing agency, but it might not be feasible because it's so competitive, it's so broad, and you're going to be buried by lots of other agencies that are ranking for this. But the other keyword, what is digital marketing? It's lower search volume, but it's also lower competition. So that's just an example. Maybe you want to have a podcast episode about this and an in-depth article about what is digital marketing. It's probably more likely that you would rank for a keyword like this than something that is high volume and high competition. So formatting your SEO content, that's probably what everyone wants to learn here. So I recommend creating a blog post and a web page for each of your episodes, so you have the chance of ranking that content in Google and driving traffic to your podcast. I use For SEO, which is a content optimization tool. It's a premium tool. It offers lots of suggestions on how to format your content and where to use those key phrases. Again, take all of these tools with a grain of salt, because you're trying to focus on the user first and create content that's better than what's already ranking. So these tools will offer suggestions, but it's not a hard rule. You want to look at what the competitors are doing and try to make your content better. So on that note, you're going to search for your target keyword in Google, see which top ranking pages and articles, what they're doing with their content. So if they have a certain heading, or they have images, and they have videos, and their body content is really, really informative, you want to make sure your content ticks all of those boxes and then some. And then you're going to write your title tag and meta description, which will be displayed in the search results. So it's the title of your episode and a quick description of it. This is a good place to include your target keyword, but also write it to be compelling to entice clicks from the search results. And then your H1 is the heading that's displayed on the actual page or the blog post visually. So it doesn't have to be identical to your title tag, but it's another place to include a keyword or a similar keyword, and just confirm for users that they're in the right place. Then map out your H2 headings, which is just a way to organize your content into sections, so it's easy for users to scan, and it also is easy for Google's algorithm to understand what the page is about. You're going to include your primary keywords naturally throughout your article. And like I said, the BERT algorithm update is made it easier for the algorithm to understand what the content is about, even without those exact match keywords. So if you have a keyword like Seattle law firm tips or something, and it's like really awkward to try and get that in there, don't worry about it. If you have something contextual like best marketing tips for law firms in Seattle or something like that, it's really hard for me to think of those examples. Don't stress, because Google's algorithm can understand that pretty well. So your goal shouldn't be to try and shoehorn those keywords in there. Just try to use those keywords naturally throughout, and then some phrases that at least relate to those keywords, and Google will understand your content. And then obviously write the body content, and the body content is the meat of the article. It's going to be what keeps users reading your content and ultimately converting. So beyond just ranking and getting traffic, you want users to take action on your content, and which is why it's so important to write content that is informative, and satisfies what users were searching for when they Googled that keyword. So here's an example of an outline that I created. It just has the H1 title tag, meta description, which I said will be included in Yoast, and Joe will talk about that. Some headings that I pulled from top ranking posts for this keyword, and just made sure my article had all of those. Not exact, right? Like I changed up the phrasing a little bit, but I made sure my article had all of the sections that my competitors had and then some. And then also just don't forget to include internal links to other pages of your site to keep users navigating your site. External links to valuable resources, not competitors, but things that are going to provide value to your readers. Images, bulleted and numbered lists, which are an opportunity to optimize for featured snippets, which you might want to research, a whole nother topic. And then ultimately try to generate backlinks to your articles and web pages through link building, which again is another broader topic. So if you want to see what this looks like, you can see the example on my website, keysandcopy.com/what-is-SEO copywriting. I'm not going to dig into that too much because I want to be, cognizant of time. But these are kind of just reiterating the main points that I talked about. Use examples, explain complicated concepts. So you're focusing on the value that you're providing. Break up dense content into smaller kind of bites of content so it's easier for users to scan, and then make your content better than what's already ranking, which I know it's kind of hard to quantify that, but that's your goal. That's the ultimate thing that you're trying to strive for. And then, you can direct that traffic to your podcast episodes. So SEO for podcasters. I do recommend having a solid SEO foundation. So SEO content will work to drive traffic to your website, but your website still should be technically SEO optimized or search engine optimized. So I recommend working with a web developer to make sure your site is really, really solid, because I don't want SEO content to be sort of a Band-Aid on an open wound, is basically the analogy that I use. So if all you're doing is writing optimized content, it's going to work to some extent. But if your website is not mobile friendly and fast and easy to navigate, it's not going to really generate the results that you want. So make sure your website is really, really solid. Research what your competitors are doing. The ones that are ranking for your keywords, the podcasters that are doing it right, obviously have cracked the code to some degree. And since you are trying to create content that's better than theirs, look at what they're doing and see if you can find commonalities between your competitors and write content that at least ticks all of those boxes and then goes above and beyond. But the important thing that I want to say is you want to start small and scale up, especially if you're a new site and you don't have much authority in terms of backlinks and having existed on the web for a long time, to go after those keywords that are low volume but low competition. So you're not going to be necessarily generating hundreds or thousands of searches per month, but you are laying the groundwork to a longer SEO strategy. So like I said, SEO is a marathon, it's not a sprint. So if you're going after those low competition keywords, you can realistically rank for those. And as you're gaining momentum, go after more competitive keywords. So trying to go after the big fish like, quote, digital marketing or podcast SEO, which are really broad and really competitive, you're going to get discouraged because you're not ranking for those. And then you're going to be like, well, SEO is not working. So going after those long tail keywords that are more specific, they're less competition, but low search volume, you can start seeing that upward trajectory over time. So just keep that in mind if you feel like you've been going after these bigger keywords and not really seeing results. It's because those other sites that are ranking or probably have higher authority and you realistically can't rank for those yet. I recommend repurposing your content, which it looks like Joe is really good at that, using your podcasting content in videos or, filming it like this as a video and using it as a podcast, putting that content in your blog posts. There's, signs that show that Google also rewards blog posts that have like a video and stuff like that. And you can even repurpose your content in email and just try to make the most of the content that you're putting out. And then I always recommend people do this, and it's often an afterthought, but if you are starting small with your SEO strategy, you want to be making the most of the traffic that's coming in, right? So you might be getting like, a couple dozen visitors a month, but what are you doing to capture those users once they get there? So adding content upgrades and lead magnets to give people an opportunity to opt into your content or your email list and stuff like that is a good way to capture those users and potentially nurture them into clients or customers or whatever the end goal is, so that even if you're getting a small amount of traffic, you are capturing those email addresses and you are not just like getting visitors for the sake of getting visitors. You know what I mean? So I do recommend having a lead magnet or something like that to promote in your blog post and even in your podcast to start attracting or, getting those email addresses, following up with them and closing them as clients or customers. So finally, here's some resources that I have. I have the SEO Content Roadmap, which is my free ebook. It's about 20, 30 pages or something that goes more in depth in each of the steps that I talk about. It's not specific to podcasters, but it is specific to SEO content on your website. So if you're just getting started and you want to know how to use keyword research tools, conduct competitor research, format your content, that is the resource for you. I have a Facebook group, which is called Right to Rank, which there's tons of tips in there. I basically repurpose a lot of that content and put in there, but there's also unique like interviews that I exclusively do in that group, tons of information. Obviously, my blog, which is keysandcopy.com blog that focuses on SEO content writing. And then my YouTube channel, which is honestly more tailored to writers, but you'll definitely find some great SEO tips in there. So that's what I got for today, everybody. I was trying to be aware of time. Hopefully I didn't go too far over because I didn't.
You didn't go over at all. You got you still have like 10 minutes, 11
Are
minutes.
you serious? Oh,
yeah.
no.
Yeah. So
Okay.
if anybody has any questions for Jessica, please do ask. Are you able to see me right now, or just you're seeing your? Okay.
I can see you. I know last time I went over, and so I was like, okay, and I was talking really fast, but I'm definitely happy to elaborate on anything that I talked about. Joe, if you have questions, I can answer those that might be relevant to your audience.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things that I saw you write about a while back ago was like, you were like, oh, you don't actually need to have Yoast to be able to rank. And I'm like, you're right, but it does make it easier to understand like what I'm doing, because having a checklist of like I got to check the boxes makes life easier. But explain that, like what does Yoast do that you wouldn't necessarily be able to do yourself, or vice versa, I guess.
Yeah, so just kind of like For SEO, which I mentioned as a content optimization tool, all of these offer suggestions if you're completely stumped on where to include your target keywords and how to format your content, right? So Yoast SEO is definitely helpful. My issue is when people use it to like focus on the little green light and they're not looking at the bigger picture of like, is this title tag actually compelling enough for people to click on it from the search results? So it might get the little green light on Yoast and includes the target keyword, but you're focusing on Yoast, you're not focusing on the user. So you kind of have to step back with each of these tools. Like they're definitely useful, and I do recommend people using them. But honestly, for me, since I've done it for a while, I know how to write an optimized title tag, so I don't really use Yoast. But like For SEO, I really, really like because it offers really smart suggestions based on competitor research, which I'm not certain Yoast SEO does that. For SEO is a little bit more robust in that it's looking at the top ranking articles and they're like, based on all those title tags, which one, how should you write yours to be competitive? So that's why I like that one. I'm never like, there are SEOs that'll be like, oh, Yoast is useless, It's valuable to an extent because like if you really don't know where to put this information, like that's your guide, and it gives you like that confidence of like, okay, I'm at least including the target keyword in there. For podcasters, yeah, definitely use it, but just make sure you're focusing on the bigger picture, right? Like not just like, oh, my target keyword's in there, that's fine. write something that is going to compel people to click on it when they see it in the search results. So that's what I would say about that. Also, just kind of like the overall idea of SEO content, I think people get weighed down with the formatting and the technical side of it. Ultimately, the formatting helps both users and the algorithm understand what the content is about. So, you know, common sense is that if you have the target keyword in your title, then users are like visually to be like, yes, I'm in the right place. This is an article for me. And then also Google will be like, obviously this article is about what it says it's about. So it's valuable to that extent, but if you're hyper focused on just trying to get those keywords in there, it's like, yeah, it's in there, but like it's not providing the value that your users are searching for. So the formatting is really just to make it easier for users to know, like, okay, this is what the content is about. This is how it's organized. This is what I'm going to find here. And then Google, really, its algorithm is trying to imitate the natural search and reading process. So it's not 100% because it's a robot essentially, but that's what it's trying to imitate. So again, common sense, if you're writing for the user, Google is going to pick up on those cues and have an incentive to rank your content. I would say though, right, there's tons of experiments about AI generated content with keywords and like even really low quality content with keywords that will rank. But right, like what is your end goal? Like, are you trying to just get it to rank and get traffic? Like maybe if you have display ads and you just want numbers on your site, but ultimately most of us want to get conversions. So if a user gets there and like, wow, this content is crap, they're going to go somewhere else and it's not going to serve you in the long run. So that's what I would say about it.
Yeah. I think that's very valuable. I guess my other question is how do you find that balance of like writing too much versus writing too little?
Or too much in terms of length?
Yeah, like because especially when you're talking about like a homepage or something, because like people want big pictures and like as little text as possible, but yet we also want it to show up for certain keywords, so you need to write for it.
Oh man, that's a big
do you
question.
just hide all the text on it so the robot can?
No,
the robots
don't
can
do
read
that.
it?
Oh my god, I will fight you. Okay, so that's a big question, and why I mentioned earlier, like it's a marathon, not a sprint, because I think, oh my god, what did I do with my hair?
Sorry, at least you got hair. It's
very competitive. So like if you're in a competitive niche, you're a small website, you're competing against the big players, you're just not going to rank for those broad keywords right away. You really have to start small. And there might not be a target keyword for your homepage that makes sense. It's like maybe it has a search volume of like 2 people. And then we see this the case a lot for agency sites because there's like 1 trillion digital marketing agencies. There's lots of bloggers and stuff like that. So trying to find like the best keywords that overall summarize what your site is about is your goal. Starting with those, like I said, the low competition, low volume keywords and scaling up as you go on. It is difficult. That's why I do recommend like consulting with someone like me or SEO specialist or something like that to come up with the right strategy for your particular website because there's no hard rules about that. And the problem is people are looking for hard rules. They're like, I want to know that my content needs to be this long with this many keywords and I'm going to be guaranteed to rank. And it's just not like that, unfortunately. And that's why you see a lot of like websites that have a lot of content on the homepage and they're like, I hope this is dense enough that Google will see the 10 keywords I included and it's going to rank for it. But you really need like an all-encompassing strategy. And that's why I included, the SEO content roadmap helps get you there. But if you're completely stumped, definitely work with someone who can look at your site as a whole and just advise you on what that might look like. But there are tons of resources, obviously, for free to get the ball rolling. Just don't get discouraged, right? If you're targeting keywords and you're like, oh, I only got 10 visitors, it's like that might be where you have to start because you're a small website with not a lot of authority and in a competitive niche. Like me, I'm in the digital marketing niche. I write on SEO content writing. I'm just not going to generate tens of thousands of visitors per month because the search volume isn't there. But can I rank for the keywords that are highly targeted to my audience? Yes. I might get 10 to 20 visitors, but I know that they're very targeted and they're going to opt into my, content and stuff on my website, which is the end goal, right? So I think people get overly ambitious. They see like podcast SEO and I want to rank for that. And then they write a long article, spend all this money and resources on that. And then they're just like, I didn't really see results from it. And like, you really want to start small with those low volume, low competition keywords, ideally high volume, but they tend to be low search volume. And then like writing the content that's really going to appeal to your target audience. So for a lot of these sites, your homepage is not going to have a clear keyword focus. Your goal is to, capture that traffic that maybe lands there, maybe through SEO, but also through social media and stuff like that, and is really going to communicate what it is that your business offers and direct them to whatever conversion point on your website. So I hope that helps.
Yeah,
most SEOs will be like, it depends, and it really does depend. So.
And that's got to be scary from a consultant / like, writer for hire. Like, oh, I paid you like for 2 months, and like we've only gotten an extra 10% of traffic, and it's like, well, yeah, because it's not a sprint, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of businesses want it to be a sprint. Like, hey, we created a website, so like it should totally do the thing.
Yeah.
2 quick questions I have. One, does Google read images, like text on images? Because I have a theory that they do.
Yeah. Okay. So this is like something that's still partially contested, but I've seen a lot about it recently. In Steve Toth, I don't know if you know who that is. He used to do SEO at FreshBooks. Has posted about this recently, that Google can read the text in images. That's not really like my area of expertise, maybe, or like something I really concern myself with most, because I'm focusing on the content on the page. But there is evidence to show that it does that. So it's definitely worth looking into. And he had really good resources to show that was what happened. And he's definitely not alone in thinking that. So my perspective and all of those things that are like, does this work, is to try it and test it. It doesn't hurt, right? Like, it definitely doesn't hurt to have the target keywords, or like, that phrasing in your image, because one, it like further confirms that the user is in the right place. That image could, if it's indexable, could rank in Google search, and someone could click on it, end up on your page. So it's valuable there, even if Google's algorithm can't like technically read it, but evidence showed that it probably can.
I think it can, and the reason is so a website I was working on, a lot of the pages were like, the person created like a PowerPoint, right, to make like a handout of like content about a product, right, and then they took a picture, like they basically screenshotted that and put it on its own page on the website, and when I went to Google for that item, it actually was in like the first 2 or 3, spots for each of those different pages. And I'm like, but there's literally like no text here.
Yeah. I mean, to
Built
be
on
like a
Squarespace.
devil's advocate, I don't know if that's the right term for this, but like you can include like the alt text and stuff in the image that Google can read.
I don't know that was even the case. I don't even know that they had any alt text in those pictures.
Okay.
But
again, it's like, will it hurt your site? Probably not. So might as well try and do it and see what happens. All about that, and obviously researching it. And I think in the area of podcasting SEO, it's like relatively new terrain, right? So looking for those other things that might move the needle is valuable. This is like, case in point, like LinkedIn SEO. I wrote that article on LinkedIn SEO, and a lot of that was based on my own testing and research, because there weren't a lot of resources out there about LinkedIn SEO. So you could hypothetically write the book on podcasting SEO if you're trying to test these things and seeing what moves the needle. It definitely takes time, but then you're positioning yourself as authority on it. So food for thought. So yeah, that's a good example, because I'm like, that information wasn't there previously. I did a lot of tests, and then that's how I came up with that guide. So. And
this is why we have superstar Jessica Foster here to talk about SEO. My last question is, and this is a personal one, because every time I write a post or something to that effect, should the title be about me or about you? As in, like, I'm searching for like how do you or how do I like blah 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 something, right? Like you're looking up for something. So when you write it, do you write it as in how do I tie my shoes, or how do you tie your shoes, or has Google basically realized that like it's not it doesn't make like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter, right? Like it's about tying your shoes. It's not about
Yeah.
whether I'm asking how I'm asking it, whether it's about me or how do you.
So before you keep talking, because there are a lot of questions in that.
Okay, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Okay, so short answer is that Google's smart enough to understand what your article is about. Even if you're not using the exact key phrasing, your title tag, the main focus there is to entice clicks from Google. So it depends, again, like what do you think is going to drive clicks from users? The kind of asterisk to that is if there is a keyword like how do I tie my shoes, it might make sense to just phrase it that way because that's what the user is searching for and that's exactly what they typed in. And they're like, obviously, this is the article for me because it's saying the exact thing that I'm searching for. So a lot of times there are keywords that say you or I or something like that. And I just usually include that phrasing because I'm using the audience's own words in the title, and they'll just have that ping of recognition that the article is what they're searching for. But for other ones where it's not specified, again, it depends. You're trying to entice clicks, so whatever is going to be the most compelling to the user. And then also, there's obviously already articles ranking for that. See what they're doing. And a lot of times, you'll examine trends. Like they'll have like 10 tips to help you, da-da-da. And then the next one or the top one will say 12 tips to help you, da-da-da. And you're like, I'm going to do one with 15 tips, So you're trying to make it better than what's already ranking, but sometimes you can see commonalities in those title tags to kind of get your idea of like, obviously Google's rewarding this kind of phrasing. So it makes sense for me to try and phrase it that way. But I'm kind of a rebel too. So even if there's commonalities there, I might try to make something that is even more compelling but different, that like if users are like, all those articles look essentially the same, but this one's like 15 bonus tips for people looking, something like that's like a little bit more like, wow, I'll do that if there's an opportunity to. But again, I hope that answers your question because it depends, right? But like in the short, Google's smart enough to understand what the article's about. So like using that exact phrasing isn't necessary, but just for the user's perspective, it might help to just kind of phrase it that way because they'll be like, that's clearly what I was looking for. So.
Well, and with the keyword that you'd be putting in there, would that be how to tie your shoes or how to tie my shoes versus like just using tie my shoes or tie?
Okay, so I would say
shoes.
Usually it's you. Like I think and it's been a while, so I feel like since I've written an article that has like that perspective, I guess. But usually it's like how to tie your shoes.
Okay.
I don't know that helps.
But it's the opposite though. When I type it in, how do I tie my shoes? And I wouldn't type in how do I tie your shoes? Because I'm not trying to tie your shoes, Jess. I'm trying to tie my shoes. Right? And it's just one of those things, it's always like bothered me. But I guess at that point with the keyword, would you want the keywords to be how like the title of like how I tie my shoes or like shoe tying ultimate guide, for 2020, how to extreme shoe tying?
I don't have a set answer for you. I think you're overthinking it just a little bit.
I'm not surprised. It's not ding ding.
No, it's like I do that too, right? Like I'm just like, how do I phrase this exact right way that it's gonna, you know what I mean? And unfortunately, but fortunately, there are no rules to it. My recommendation would just be to Google your target keyword and see what comes up and see what other people are doing. And for the most part, try to align with that, but just make something that's better. So I think if I searched for how to tie my shoes and an article came up that said how to tie your shoes, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, like completely lost on like.
Well, as long as Google's going to show that one, that's the different, I guess that's the thing.
I don't think Google's going to care
differentiate
that much.
Like
no,
that. Okay.
I don't think so, because it's like it's not just considering the title tag, it's considering all of the context of all of your content. If your article is clearly about tying shoes, that's what matters.
Yeah. All right.
Some
Well,
SEO somewhere is probably going to yell at me. They're like, no, it does matter.
and you know what you could just say to them? Prove it.
Yeah, no, I mean,
go spend 2 weeks and prove it to me. Like,
I'm all about testing it, right? Like if you really don't know, you can always write one title tag, see what happens, and write it a different way. But most people are not ambitious enough to do that. And Google's just like, I don't care if you use you or I don't care if you use 2 or 4. Like we get it. We understand what it's about. If your article is providing more value to the user than the other articles that are ranking, it's going to have the incentive to rank you higher.
And does having YouTube videos on there on the pages help? Is Google taking into consideration what those videos are and how they're being
like there's
used?
evidence that show that's the case,
captioning.
and those articles can rank within Google search as well. Like sometimes you'll do a Google search, and the top search result will be a video that's actually within an article. So I do that, and most of what I've seen is that being the case. So I haven't seen evidence that would hurt you. So why not include your video in there? And then I'm learning more about YouTube SEO, so that's kind of a different beast for me, but including the closed captions, I've heard also helps on YouTube, and then you can rank on YouTube, which is another great way to drive traffic to the post and then to your podcast. So trying to cover all your bases, I would assume, would be the best approach, right?
Yeah.
So that's the interesting thing, right? SEO can apply to a lot of different platforms, and not every SEO professional is like a genius on each type of SEO, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. Well, because they all do it differently. They're all valuing different things differently. So absolutely.
I like to one thing. I was like, I like to tell people that they're probably doing more right than they think they are, and following best practices, SEO best practices, will just help you format your content to make it easier for users and Google to understand what your content is about. So if your area of genius is podcasting and you can talk with authority on that and write with authority on it, you're probably providing a lot of value to your users. You just need a little help with the formatting and the keyword focus. So don't beat yourself up, right? If you're not seeing those like massive returns in terms of traffic, it is definitely a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the only one last question: quality versus quantity.
Oh God. Well,
as far as amount of posts.
What are you going to say?
Amount of posts, like in the case of the Indie Pod Daily, I'm literally going live every single day. I can't necessarily take the time to write a post about each and every single one, but each and every single YouTube video ends up in the in the blog. Plus I add the podcast as well. So, and I mean, obviously YouTube or Google's doing more with that. You're adding the YouTube video, and there's a title, and there's featured image and things of that nature, and there's some verbiage in there from the description that I originally wrote, but it's not like the long, it's not like the, I guess, like a keystone piece of content for like a guide or something that you're trying to get to really, really rank.
I mean, as long as you're okay with the fact that some of your stuff won't rank and you can live with that, I think that's okay. It's not.
Is it hurting the overall? Is, I guess, the bigger question.
That is a big question. I honestly don't have a set answer for that. My perspective is that if you're going to take the time to film something and record it and write it, that you should do it with SEO in mind and have a clear keyword focus. It takes more time, but then you're laying a good foundation SEO wise. A lot of what I do is that going to websites that have a lot of content and then going back and re-optimizing it, because there's just if you don't have a clear focus for a lot of your content, sometimes it can be confusing to Google what your site is about, and it could maybe hurt you because Google's like, well, this guy is all over the place with this content. I don't really feel inclined to rank him high because I don't know what his site is really about. So for me, I think it's better to have a key, at least an intention with your content strategy that you're trying to target keywords. and have like some sort of structure to how you're organizing the content on your website, because then you can have an overall theme. Like if most of your episodes are talking about personal development and each of them are somehow targeting a keyword related to personal development, then Google's like, okay, this site is about personal development. So once you write
Yeah.
a really solid article on this, we're more inclined to rank them. But if you're kind of all over the place, I could see how Google's algorithm would get confused by that, and it could possibly not penalize you, but just sort of be like, we're just going to leave it where it is, because this guy obviously doesn't really like care about trying to target certain keywords here and stuff like that. So that's what I would say about it. I also recognize that like podcasters and different sites have different goals. So if you're getting most of your traffic from like social or like direct traffic and stuff, and there's not a ton of search volume for the keywords that you hypothetically want to target, you might not go super heavy on SEO, and that's okay. Because there's a lot of sites that don't necessarily benefit from SEO because people aren't searching for those keywords. So I think if you're like, oh my God, I need SEO and I need to optimize everything, like just consider like where most of your traffic is coming from. You know what I mean? Like follow the channels that are generating the best results for your particular business. Is what I would say. Again, it's like, it depends, right? I'm sorry that that's the answers to a lot of different things. But of course, like if people have questions, they can certainly ask me those somewhere, and I can probably send them to resources that are a little bit more specific to like those questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Well, if you enjoyed Jessica's talk and answering all of my crazy questions and all of the depends that it takes to get some kind of an answer, you should please go and check out all the resources that she has listed here. Screenshot it, reach out to Jessica. She is an absolute rising star, and while she may not be ranking #1 for digital marketing today, I promise you she will be in the future.
Tomorrow.
Because yeah, well, tomorrow's another day, and that makes me right, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Jessica, thank you so much for taking the time today, an extra time than apparently you thought you had, to be here and to talk. And I hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Definitely, people can reach out to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever. So thanks.
Awesome. And join her Facebook group, because she is every day like posting in there, and lots of memes and lots of fun.
Lots of memes. No
and
SEO tips.
Follow her on TikTok too, because she's
God,
she's hilarious.
No. Yeah.
All right, Jessica.
Okay.
Have a great weekend. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Take care. I need super claps in the chat for Super Jessica Foster. That was awesome. So much great information there and value. And I'm honored that she would take the time to be here with us today here in the Indie Pod community. And I'm going to follow this up with walking you through Yoast. And if you haven't used Yoast, you absolutely should be giving it a consideration if you are using WordPress. This, to me, WordPress is the de facto. Larry's feeling the super claps. That is awesome. Queens of the Minds, thank you so much. So happy that you're all hanging in here with me today to talk about SEO, and so I'm gonna go through. Please ask your questions in the chat, because I'm gonna kind of go through making a post and checking the boxes. So I'm gonna share my screen here, and hopefully it's big enough. Let me know in the chat if you can see it, if it's big enough of a screen, for everybody to be able to view. No, I don't claim to be any kind of SEO expert, but I have been doing, websites since like 96, 97. So I did tend to, kind of have an idea of what I'm doing. And so I'm here on the indiepodcasters.com website. And if you don't know how to add a plugin, real quick, you just go to down to plugins, hit add new, and then you can go and search out Yoast, which is YOAST, and you can hit download, and you can hit activate on the Yoast SEO plugin. So once that's on, we're going to go and add a new post to the site. And what you're going to see here, let's minimize some of this stuff here. Okay. What you're going to see here now is you have this big old box right here underneath your post. So you got your focus keyword, which you are going to have to figure out what you want to write about. Sometimes it's easier to write the article and then write pick the keyword from it. But I would strongly suggest that you probably pick a keyword phrase first, so that you have a better idea of like where you're trying to target your post at in general. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to use the example I was talking about before. So we're going to like how to tie shoes, right? So I'm going to like how to tie shoes. So when once I write the keyword in, you'll see I got a little frowny face here. And if I go down here to SEO analysis, it'll tell me all the problems that there are. So in my case, there's no meta description. And you can click that link. It tells you that the length of the article is 0. There's no key phrase in the title. The SEO title width, yours is too short because there's literally nothing there other than Independent Podcast Conference, which has nothing to do with tying shoes, by the way. There's the key phrase length, which is good. So that's good to know, how to tie shoes. And previously used key phrase. I have not used this key phrase before, which can get kind of tricky. For a long time there, I did not. I used my guest name as my keyword phrase, and that was not a good idea because a lot of my stuff didn't rank for the sake of it, and because I think especially early on, I wasn't really sure what the topic was for every single episode, and sometimes I'd have multiple guests on that had the same topic and trying to find like what I'm going to rank for. So ultimately I just ended up going with their name, but then even that became a problem once I started having guests on multiple times. So I would try to find, anytime you're having a guest on your show, I would specifically be looking at what's the topic that we're going to be talking about, so you know how to write about it. And then once you actually do that episode, then you can maybe get more narrow focused into what that key phrase should be. So the great, what I love about Yoast, and I don't have the premium, but I think it's like $80 a year, so it's not terrible. And one of the things it gives you is the ability to have multiple key focus phrases, which can be very helpful, especially if you're doing certain things like longer form guides, and you want to be able to necessarily check that if you're going to be able to rank at all or have any shot at it with how you wrote the article. So we're going to start here with the title. So I'm going to write in how to tie. We're going to go with your shoes. How to tie your shoes. So once I type in the title, now I got my permalink here with the slug. And if I scroll back down here, you'll see, okay, key phrase, previously used key phrase, and SEO title width is good. So my SEO title, how to tie your shoes, Independent Podcast Conference. So now I'm going to click on, so it tells me my meta description has not been specified. Now, if I start writing up here in the body, it'll pull that text and put it in here. But generally speaking, it's probably a good idea to write a custom meta description to get people to click on it, because this right here is the mobile, how it will look in Google when they find the result. Or I could do the desktop version right here. So I'm going to hit edit snippet, and then down here it says meta description. So let's see, how do you spell? Is it Tying? Is that how you spell tying? Right? That's how tying. Present a tie. So we'll say tying your shoes can be difficult. We wrote this guide to learn how to tie your shoes in this crazy decade called 2020. We wrote this all to this ultimate guide. There we go. So now it's green, and that's what it's going to look like in the Google result, right? So I'm going to click close snippet. Now I could change the slug. I could also change the site, the SEO title. So like I could get rid of the independent podcast conference, but now it's going to, you see it's going orange instead of green. So I'm going to click close snippet, and now you'll see, hey, our little green red face turned yellow, orangish. So it says SEO key phrase in title does not contain an exact match. Let's see. Maybe I'll just change that to how to tie your shoes as the complete title, and boom. So now we're like well on our way to just writing an article about how to tie your shoes. And as Jessica just showed earlier, it's good to use headings. So I'm going to say how to learn, or this is how to tie your shoes in 2020, the ultimate guide. And now we have a title. And now that we start typing, all these other red dots have popped up, right? We have no image alt attributions. We have no outbound links. We have no internal links. We have the key phrase in the introduction. Your key phrase or its synonyms do not appear in the first paragraph. So let's see. We know that learning to tie your shoes, learning how to tie your shoes in 2020 can be very difficult given all of the craziness that is happening. That has happened so far. So now I need some outbound links because we're gonna we're gonna expedite the process here. So we'll just, I don't know, Zappos, that's a thing, right? Zappos.com, is that how you spell it? Shoe tying place, cool. So Zappos.com. So now we should have our, we have our outbound link, and now we need our inbound link. I'll just do like learn more about how to tie your shoes in 2020 from our free ride Friday Q&A session in the IndiePod community. Obviously, this is all complete nonsense. I would never teach anybody how to tie their shoes, especially my own daughter or son, because then they won't need me anymore. They'll just leave because they'll know how to tie their they'll know how to tie their shoes. So I'm gonna get a internal link. We'll just type in like free, and we'll just do free podcast hosting, answer your questions. So that's one of the internal links. Boom, now we have an internal link. So we also need some image alt attribution. So we want to make sure that we get ourselves a featured image. So I'm just gonna go and grab a featured image. We'll just use these dots here. How to tie your shoes. Set featured image. It's complaining because it's not 200 by 200. Cool, not great. I don't want to change one of the. Tell you what, I'll just upload another image here. I will upload an image from the youricongear.com website. How to tie your shoes. Okay, boom. So now, see, now the image is taken off the table. Text length contains 58 words. This is far below the recommended minimum of 300. So we need to write 300 to get there. But then we also have this readability face over here, which talks about how the article is written. Transition words, only 25% of the sentences contain transition words, which is not enough. And then there's sentence length. 50% of the sentences contain more than 20 words, which is more than the recommended maximum of 25%. So these are things that you're going to want to keep in mind. And if you use like the little button, it'll actually show you. It'll show you where in the article that you want to make those changes. But effectively, like once you start writing the article about how to tie your shoes, and you use some, more headings like learn all about about shoelaces, and yeah. So now we have a second title. Shoes, laces. Oh, I'm doing wonderful here. It really gives you the clarity. It gives the reader clarity in what they are reading, and can like easily skim down and skim through. So let's see. Now it says 40% of the sentences contain more than 20 words. So let's see. How to learn in 2020. If I just change that, it can be very difficult. Oh, now it's down to 16%. So now it can be very difficult given all the craziness that has happened. If I take that, none of the sentences contain transition words. And then if you click on use some, it'll actually show you like what transition words are they talking about you should be looking at. It's a quite long article explaining those words, but yeah, so basically, I mean, this will walk you through the process. So if I found, let's see, let's just type in how to tie shoes, and we'll just expedite the thing here. So, well, number one is a video that, let's see how many views does this have? Oh, 2.9 million, almost 3 million views. How crazy is that? Almost 3 million views and only 5,500 subscribers. That's pretty crazy. Comments are turned off, I guess, probably for a reason. At least it's only a 2.5 minute video explaining how to tie your shoes, and not like a 15-minute explanation video on how to tie shoes. But let's see, 4 ways to tie shoes. So if I just like kind of borrow some of this this information here. And borrow some of this information. And this one. Okay, so cool. Now our little SEO face is now green because we've hit our 300 words, but our readability is suffering because apparently sentence length is still an issue, and transition words, which is not, there's not enough of those in there. So once obviously you're going to go through and you're going to write your article as if you didn't just copy and paste it and write a bunch of nonsense in it. But that's really what you're, the baseline of what you're trying to accomplish is get, the information in front of people and in front of Google, and make it so that they can actually read what they, what you're trying to teach them. So yeah, so that's the basics of utilizing Yoast within WordPress. And if you go over to, where's it at? Am I missing it? Or am I missing it? How am I missing it? SEO. So we'll save this as a draft, just in case we want to come back. Go here to SEO. Open up a new tab. There's a lot of powerful features within it that can really help you in getting what you want. Make sure you go to Google and verify at the very least, and get it in the Google Search Console. Which actually, I actually think I need to go through and re-update that, because this isn't the verification code anymore. So I need to go and actually do that, since we switched from independentpodcastconference.com to indiepodcasters.com. I need to do that, and you can change your title separator, like when people are finding it in there. Charlie asks, does Yoast only work with WordPress? I don't believe that Yoast SEO works for anything anything else. Yeah, I think it's only for WordPress. Like, let's see if it's like for Wix. Fancy SEO, Wix SEO. Yeah, no, that's through Wix. Just trying to Squarespace. They probably have their own thing as well, Squarespace. And yes, Squarespace doesn't have the Yoast SEO plugin. Good news, you honestly don't need it with Squarespace. Here's the deal: Squarespace was built with SEO best practices in mind. So, Facebook users, thank you, Joe. Another great conference. Oh, this is Christopher Knight. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. Yeah. So this is only for WordPress, which you really, I mean, to me, if you're gonna build a website and you're taking this thing seriously, really, there's no other, this is how you should be doing it. Like, you should take it, unless you're only like, hey, I'm just gonna do this podcast thing for for fun and whatever, and we're just having a good time. Like, you got to get WordPress, you got to get it set up, and you got to learn it. You got to do it. If you're gonna really take a real serious stab at this, like, you need to be doing it on WordPress. In my opinion, I mean, other people might tell you otherwise, but to me, you get to own the domain, you get to own the platform, you get to own everything about it. You can take it wherever you want to go. You could host it yourself if you really wanted to. If you got kicked off your host for whatever reason, this is it. This is the platform that you need to be on. It's the most versatile and really just the best out there in my opinion. So yeah, so if anybody else has any questions about the using Yoast, let me know in the comments. I'm happy to answer any questions, bring it up. In the meantime, while you're playing catch up and getting the Yoast, or I'm sorry, getting your questions together, let me just give a quick shout out to our sponsors, which is Simple Easy Marketing. Me, Super Joe Pardo from superjoepardo.com. Simple Easy Marketing, go to timgillette.com/virtual so you can join their next event on August 15th. And then Readily Random Graphics, shout out to Larry Roberts over at Readily Random Graphics. If you need like a one-page or website graphics, pretty much anything graphics related, he is your guy. He will hook you up for sure. Like I said earlier, we are still looking to raise money for That Suits You. If you want to say thank you to me, if you want to say thank you to the speakers, then please go to indiepodcasters.com/TSY and make a donation there to That Suits You. They do amazing work. PK is a great guy. I've gotten to know him over the years. And definitely, please go make even just a small donation would all help. The other things I wanted to bring up was the Super Circle, the Supercharger podcast is combining with the Indie Pod University. The price right now is just $10 a month, and it is going up on Friday. So if you purchase now and lock in that price over at indiepodu.com, you are going to have access to everything at just $10 a month, but it's going up to $99 on Friday. So please take me up on it. Don't wait. You don't need to wait unless you want to give me more money every month. We're going to help you. I'm going to help you get to that starting line and launch your podcast, grow your podcast, and get you across the finish line with monetizing your podcast. You'll have a community to lean into, the IndiePod U community, as well as tons of videos, over 150 hours of resource videos, exclusive content that I'm creating just for that community. So if you want to get in on that, please go to indiepodu.com and check it out before Friday. If not, then it's going up on Friday to $99, and I'm happy to take your money. It's not a problem at all by me. Let me see what else is there. If you want to launch your podcast with purpose, Larry Roberts and I, who I just mentioned, we had teamed up to do a Launch Your Podcast with Purpose video course. Go check that out at indiepodcasters.com/launch. And if you want to get on the live streaming game here, Ross Brand and I we did a 6-module live stream master video class. You can go check that out, indiepodcasters.com/master. Regina Rosa Celeste was one of our students, and she's, I mean, if you saw her video now, she's doing awesome. She is really, really taking it to heart and really upped her video game, video game, comic game, to the next level. For sure, super proud of her, and all the progress she and the other students in that class have made. You can go check out all their testimonials over at indiepodcasters.com/master. As I mentioned earlier, I will not be announcing another indie podcast virtual conference right now. There will be more. The Icon 6 event on September 6th or September 12th, sorry, is going to be reimagined as a more face-to-face online utilizing Zoom event that we will come together and be able to interact and do a lot of the things that we do in person at an event. Will be there. I will be sending out an email to anybody who already purchased a ticket with options to get a refund. I totally get it, but this enables me to be able to focus more on the people who are attending versus trying to split my attention, because I won't have a team here with me between the people who are here live and the people who are at home watching the live stream. So I'm looking forward to doing that and getting to work with everybody and get to host everybody and have an awful lot of fun that day, September 12th. So look for more information about that coming up. The tickets will probably start at $100 to join us for that event. It'll be one day, probably like 8 hours, 9 hours, or something like that. We'll do an after party in the Zoom room. We'll be doing the creative podcast competition workshop, which we have done every single year at every single MapCon Icon events, aside from these virtual events that we've been doing, and basically bring the feel of a live event to you. So different from this, where it's me and it's the speakers and we're just talking. It's going to be a much different experience that you're going to get. Basically, it's like attending a live event, but you'll be virtual with it. So go check that out over at indiepodcasters.com. Everyone, I appreciate you taking the time today to be here with us. It's been a lot of fun. It hasn't been as many hours as normal, so I actually feel still very super energized and very excited for everything going on. Thank you for spending your Saturday, mostly morning, with us here in the Indie Pod community. And I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow for Shine On Saturday, where you'll be able to post your newest episodes, your newest products, your newest services, market whatever you got going on, and help promote your stuff in the Indie Pod community. Everybody, have a great Saturday. And remember that you are a podcaster, and as such, you are a leader, and you should always lead with love. Take care, everybody. Thank you, Greg. I appreciate it. My ear hopefully will continue to feel good, because I need to get back in that pool with the kids. I feel bad that I've missed that much time. Thanks, Charlie. Appreciate it.